Welcome. It's a real pleasure to welcome Marc Antaki, who is the head of portfolio strategy for Mubadala.
Pleasure.
It's really great to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Just a quick comment. What a fantastic venue. It is really cool because it makes such an intimate dialogue, and I'm going to do it on an unfiltered way.
Unfiltered. Okay, great. Great. Well, we've got CNN streaming live here. No, just kidding. Well, listen, it's really great. I mean, I for those of you who know the Gulf and who know business, I mean, Mubadala is really a very, very important company and brand. I think what's also interesting, Marc's been with Mubadala for 17 years. I've had the good fortune of meeting many Mubadala executives in my career. And every time I say, how long have you been at Mubadala? They say 15 years, 20 years, 17 years. It's really an amazing thing. And so maybe you can explain, how is that?
Well, let me maybe speak a bit and introduce Mubadala because
yes,
maybe a lot of people are not familiar with Mubadala. Mubadala is a global long-term investment company. And what I mean by long-term investment company is that we shape our portfolio and align it to the long-term trends where we have convictions. And we really deploy capital with purpose along these trends. So if you think a bit about the past 20 years, we recognized the energy transition. We started deploying capital in clean energy. We created businesses there, semiconductors more than 15 years ago, the data boom more than 15 years ago. And well, guess what? With time, with these 15, 20 years, it turns out that within that inflection point, all of these become the backbone of what we're today calling the AI infrastructure, the AI ecosystem. So by doing all of this, we have built as Mubadala depth, expertise, relationship, partners, trusted relationship that equip us in a great way to be able to tap into that new opportunity that's presenting itself. And linking it to what your question, we have all been part of that shaping at that long term and that consistency, that we're extremely passionate, proud of being part of that journey and seeing it develop. That makes us want to stay anchored in that company and continue to drive that future.
It's funny. I say it with a lot of admiration as an entrepreneur myself, but also someone who, I mean, I think it was once I read somewhere that, you know, starting a great company is basically identifying the most fantastic people and then just convincing them to hang around as long as possible. Good things happen, and I think so. Mubadala is clearly doing that very, very well. So when did give us a little bit of an overview of Mubadala and AI in particular? I mean, were you early on? You said you started in semiconductors.
So we started a lot of these areas. Now we're well positioned because we have built all of this expertise. But what's interesting is that now with that inflection, our conviction in that space is increasing, right? And what does that mean? We're all walking throughout the promenade and hearing how transformative that technology is going to be. And you hear people speak. We heard our colleagues before and everybody speak how you can picture in 5 or 10 years the world looking very different. And let's take a couple of examples. Something that is not very far to us as people and human beings. Education, our kids. There's already some AI-enabled platforms, but think about personalized tutoring, think about dedicated or specialized education for kids. Think about addressing education inequality and providing access. Take the same thing on any of the other topic, healthcare, cure of different diseases, addressing pandemics. We all live the pandemic and assume that you have AI-enabled faster response. So all of this increase our conviction in that space, and because of our positioning, like you said, we have great people, great relationship, great way of looking at businesses, put us in a very good position to double down on that space. And that's exactly the ethos of how Mubadala operate. And maybe I want to link it to what the previous speakers were talking about. All of this is interesting, the examples I brought, but the risks are real. Not only the risks, the challenges and the danger. That means for Mubadala that we don't want to just be a passenger. We don't want to just be deploying capital. We want to actually be an active partner, an active stakeholder in shaping the journey ahead. And this is not only an AI thing. We do that on every other investment that we do, any other thematic that we play, climate, energy transition, healthcare, and then. This is why you see Mubadala long-term, active, partner, and purposeful.
So let's take a zoom out a little bit. And the UAE has been in the headlines a lot recently as relates to AI. Obviously, the Microsoft investment in G42, the announcement of the building of many data centers, a whole range of what seems like quite hyperactive focus, hyperactive in a good sense, intense focus on being a leader in AI. To tell us about the UAE and AI before we go further on Mubadala.
Can I see a raise of hands? How many of you have actually been to the UAE? Okay, for those of you that have not been to the UAE, maybe a couple of data points and then coming back. We're really fortunate in the UAE to have visionary leadership, clear ambitions, clear strategies, to very much be a hub of AI, to very much build a vibrant, dynamic, globally integrated society. We have a clear sense of purpose amongst the population, and we have dynamism and accountability. And these are the magical ingredients that result in the UAE growing at 5-6%, attracting FDI, having high net worth relocating to the UAE, and a lot of people here coming and visiting or living there. If you double click on the AI environment in the UAE, it's the first country to have appointed a minister of AI, and that was not in 2023. That was in 2017. The UAE has established a dedicated AI university, great skill set coming out, great research coming out. The UAE released the first LLM in Arabic language shortly after OpenAI. Imagine the access of 440 million Arabic-speaking people globally being able to access it, use it with all of the cultural nuances. We have...
And also efforts to build LLMs for the Global South, in addition to just the Arabic-speaking world.
On the Global South, interesting you're bringing it up. We have established with Microsoft dedicated research centers to advance responsible AI. For MENA, for the Global South, one of them dedicated on best practices and industry standards, the other one on impact and global purpose. We have a very young and dynamic population. I don't know the specific number, but probably around 50 to 60% below the age of 40, digitally literate, passionate to change the world. And we have a very vibrant business community that are all embracing AI. So this is not plans to come. This is what exists today.
And so what is Mubadala, how is Mubadala specifically leveraging this broader UAE focus on AI and ecosystem?
So let me maybe turn it the other way around. Imagine being a company, Mubadala or any other company, being in the middle of that environment. How you would benefit and leverage that ecosystem. And I let the audience imagine a bit, but certainly you have energy in people, you have clarity, you have alignment, you have access, but very often the most important thing is what's critical in AI because it's so new and so evolving, that ability to be agile, to test, to learn, to fail, and to progress. So with the UAE wanting to be front runner and to develop all of that with that entire ecosystem creates that laboratory responsibly to advance all of this for the UAE and also for the rest of the world.
So I think you recently did a study with Bain and BCG, or sorry, Bain and MGX on AI in the Gulf and beyond. What were some of the interesting findings from that?
So on the trends, like I said, we align our portfolio to the different long-term trends. Very often, every year actually, we do studies, unbiased studies, to make sure that we stay grounded, to get a sense and a real sense of what either people think, what leaders are doing, and what the investment community is actually doing. We launched a study, like you said, with MGX, and we commissioned Bain to do that, to survey 30-plus leading funds, speak with leading thinkers and executives, to very much understand two things: the hype, and what does it mean to be AI-enabled. So the exam question was very simple. Listen, everybody's speaking about AI, and if we think about the investment community, the investors, they're all saying we're adopting AI, but is it really translating into real alpha generation? And if not, how far away are we from that? And the second question was, what are the characteristics of those that are leading the pack? By the way, these 13 companies represent $3.2 trillion of capital, and they're all advancing the agenda. So here are the few takeaways. Everybody believes that AI is going to fundamentally transform how the investment process actually works and how everybody does investment. Using it in sourcing companies, in finding the right talent, in diligencing, in managing their portfolios, in creating value, in exiting, in financial reporting. Everything is there and everybody's believing in it. When you come to ask the question, well, are you able to demonstrate today real tangible value that is attributable to AI? The answer is no. There's 2 or 3% of those that are saying, if I cannot measure the attributable to AI. However, over the next 3 to 5 years, they have strong conviction that 90% of them have conviction that they're going to be able to measure the attributable impact coming from AI, and it's going to be material and significant. The other data point that's interesting, so this is the GPs and the PE funds and those that are actually doing some deals. If you look at the other side of the equation, the LPs, those that are giving these people money to deploy, 77% of them today are saying that they're prioritizing GPs that are adopting AI. So just imagine the sheer pressure that community of investors on both sides have to use purposefully, responsibly, don't do mistake, create the value, and how specialization is going to unfold, and the whole industry is going to progress. Can I make a final comment? Because we speak a lot about AI, and let's maybe speak about how Mubadala is adopting AI, because we're one of these investors. And we cannot just say we have conviction and we're just deploying money in a space. We're also very bullish and want to be very front runner in adopting AI ourselves. We started our journey actually 5 years ago on our digital transformation and data, and been very, very active over the past 2 years in doing very interesting AI-enabled applications. We just activated a very interesting platform that we call our IC member, to help our IC members in deal decision making. But there's a lot of other cool stuff that we're doing.
Have you built your own agent?
We built our agent. We're partners. We brought them in. We brought the business guys. We brought the technologists. We sat in rooms. It took us a couple of iterations. It seems to be, it's quite promising. It seems to work well so far. We're going to progress it and evolve it. And there's a lot of other applications we have in mind.
Great. Well, listen, thank you, Marc, for sharing all that. Please join me in thanking Marc for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.